Everyone, and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be drawing and painting. Oopsie daisy, I forgot to put on my phone up here, so I'm just going to quickly set up my phone so that I can film as well, because we like to make shorts formats videos as well. So I'll set that up. Oops, hang on, set it up now. Hang on, get my camera sorted, because I'm just going to reset up. Oops, days. Should have had this done beforehand, shouldn't I? But anyway, video. There we go. And then hang it up here. Whoops, daisy. Get that up there, like that. And then video and record. Whoops. Everything's all right. Record. There we go. That'll have to do. So today I am going to be drawing a little Australian sugar glider. They are the cutest little dudes. So I apologise for the zoom in camera. Bit of a glitch. I should have had that on to begin with, but I totally forgot to put the camera on. Now, I've got my pencil. It's got a little bit of lead in there, so I'm going to start by drawing. Oops, got to bring up my screen so I can see the channel. There we go. Okay. I was trying to think of what I was going to draw today, and I thought, you know what, I haven't drawn in ages, and one of my favourite little creatures is a little Australian sugar glider. They are absolutely gorgeous little things. Oops, I've got to set up my multi-chat because I'm streaming on 2 platforms. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to start with a pencil background, and then I'll go in with ink. Okay. Let's get the basic body shapes in first. These little guys are absolutely adorable. Now that eye's sort of just in front of and below that ear. There, I've got massive eyes because they're nocturnal, so they're little night creatures. Might make that ear go out a bit more, like that. Just draw his markings so I can get a little bit of bearings on where his facial features need to be. Like that. Make that eye a fraction bigger. Alright. And I'm going to be drawing this, I'll be finishing this off in ink, because I do love ink. And I haven't done an ink drawing, and I thought, you know what, I haven't got a picture of an Australian sugar glider hanging on my wall, and I want one. I haven't made his head wide enough. I need my eraser. I have to use my little one that's on my pencil, because I don't know where my kneadable eraser has gone. I have to invest in another one. So I adjust and readjust a little bit here and there. That ear out a bit, like that. So I get all the details on in ink, in pencil first. Around here, that's his little nose. I might need to make that eye bulge out a fraction more. And his little mouth comes down and around like that. And he's holding a plant, so I'm going to draw him. He's on like a sugar gum. I'm going to have a sip of my cup of coffee. Have a sip of my coffee. Okay. Actually, I'll draw his body. So his body is 1, 2 times the length of his head. So everything I measure against the body. think I need to make his eyes a little bit further apart. Not sure. Oh, I might be alright. Just draw the rough shape of the flower in that he's sitting on. Just get the rough shape. I can adjust and readjust as I need. And there's another flower coming off out here. Draw the basic shapes of that coming out there. Like that. I think I need to move that eye a fraction. So you can see this takes a little bit of adjusting and readjusting. So I move this eye over a fraction. That. Big nocturnal eyes. And then draw his little reflections on his eyes. How many fingers go on to? 3, 4, 5. They've got 5. I might actually give him one up here a bit. So it's like his thumb up there. Like that. Then these guys have got like a big piece of fur skin that comes down, and it's like a wing. They can open up their arms and their legs, and their little wing, like a film of skin, pops out, and they open up like a little aeroplane. They're very cute, and they can fly from tree to tree. We actually had one under our veranda the one day. It was absolutely gorgeous, and it was flying around under there. They're so tiny too. They're so little and adorable they are. And I thought the fun part of this was I wanted to draw flowers, but I also wanted to draw an animal, so I didn't quite know what I was going to do. Draw rough in the shapes of the flowers. Okay, and then I'll draw the centre of these flowers. Have got like a they curl in because they sort of unfurl as they open up. As they get older, these plants, as they open, their flowers sort of uncurl from each other. Their leaves all uncurl from the centre. Add more detail in ink, but I'm just getting a rough sort of idea of where everything is for the minute. This flower hasn't opened yet. Might draw another one over this side. Make this one a bit wider maybe. Comes down into plant there. Have that leaf coming down here. Okay. And that branch comes down here. Oops. And I'll draw his tail. I'll draw his little foot here. And then I can see 4 of his little toes on the fat foot. Like that. Then I'll bring that branch down here. Like that. Stem where that plant is. And then I'll draw his tail coming down and around and up here. I might actually curl it back over there. I'll erase this bit. And I'm going to curl his tail back across like that. Like that. Then I'm going to bring, I think I'm going to bring a branch out. So it's sort of here. So it looks like he's in amongst the trees. That'd be a bit of fun to draw. Bit of branch detail as well, like that. And I'll draw another branch out here just to add a bit of dimension, a bit of perspective, a bit of interest, sort of keep a triangle shape. Again, this will be another sort of starting to open flower. Forgot what they're called. I've gone completely blank on what these flowers are called. Then he's got the actual flower. All the little centre points haven't unfurled yet, so they close into the middle, like that. Okay. That's looking okay. I think I need something else. I'm not happy with this one. Not happy with this one. I've got to change this a little bit. I'm going to make that a bit rounder, I think. I'm going to erase this. Make this flower a little bit rounder. It's alright, I'll do ink over the top of that. You won't even notice it. I'm going to make this coming this way a bit. Changing the direction of this flower. Like that. And then I'll draw the middle of the flower coming in. Like that. And then I'll have the petals coming up here. Like that. Okay. That's sort of pretty much where I want it. Hello Paleo, how are you? Today I'm drawing a little Australian sugar glider. Thought I'm doing something completely different. I might draw a couple of little leaves coming out of here. Actually, no, I won't do that. Thank you. They are very cute little creatures. They are very adorable. I'm going to have to draw something there now because I've marked the paper. I'm going to draw another flower. The only thing about this paper, once you've drawn on it, I know, I haven't seen them in I've seen them in museums. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're very rare. They're endangered here. But we have them here. Like I've had a couple under my veranda. They were telling, we went through a stage where they're telling people to put your lights on your veranda because we live on farmland. They're saying put your lights on so that you can attract them because we've got the gum trees out the front they live on. But yeah, we had a couple of little ones under the veranda and they were just adorable. But they're one of my favourite animals ever to draw. I absolutely adore them. So I thought, you know what, I want to do myself just a piece for me today. So now I'm going to get my ink happening and I'm going to do this in just ink washes. So I've got my ink all ready. Oop, doesn't want to suck up into the doodah. And I'm going to use a dip pen. So I'm probably going to make a mess because that's how I roll. Get my bit of cloth. And I'm going to start top left. I need to Google the flowers that they live on because I want to get them. Oh no, you know what? I don't. I'm just going to go freehand and imagination because I've sort of drawn the plants from memory and made them up a little bit. So I've got these growing out in my garden, so I see them every other day. I've got the miniature version of these, actual little red ones. These are the yellow ones, I think. They're a bit bigger. So I've got to work top to bottom so that I don't get my hand in my ink, which is a superpower of mine. Always end up with my hand in the ink. And I can, at the very end, once I find my kneadable eraser that I've managed to misplace, I will erase the background once all the ink's set and dry. And if I want to do, I could do a watercolour wash at the end afterwards, but I'm undecided. I might just keep it black and white because I do love black and white. And this is a Tachikawa dip pen, my favourite dip pen of all time. I've had this one for a few years now. I haven't drawn in so long. I've been doing lots of clay sculptures of little animals and it's been nice to have a break, but it is lovely to get back to drawing. I've got a bird playing outside my window, it just caught my attention. I'm going to draw these little furled up fronds in the middle. I've completely forgotten the name of this plant. It's not a bottle brush. It's sort of like a protea almost. South Africa and Australia have a lot of plants in common. Alright. Just got to keep dipping back into my ink. Every time I hear the trombone like this, I think of my brother. My brother's a musician, trombonist. There we go, that's one flower. Ooh, nearly spilt me ink. That wouldn't have been good, would it? Just going to draw the bulb of this plant where it would have come out of. Then come back down towards my little sugar glider. Like that. And that plant sort of connects into his little face. I'm going to have another sip of my coffee. Okie doke. Now, going to keep the lines to the soft to the outside. My ink's drying super fast. We've had a hot few days here. Been up in the 30s and it's raining. So it's been hot and wet. When I say 30s, I mean Celsius. It's been yicky. Very yicky. Oops, itchy face, itchy eyeball. Alright. I don't want the lines to be hard. So I'm going to draw a little, like fur texture. Because you don't want a hard line on the edge of your animal. Come down here, draw the fur on the back half of his ear. Quite a bulgy little eye, and I love using dip pens because you can get different thicknesses of line, which is exactly what that just did. I picked up a little bit extra ink and it just made it give it that little bit more of a detail in the line, so it's not just one flat line. That's why I don't like to use normal traditional pens for this sort of thing. Because I don't want a universal line, I want all different lines, different thicknesses. And I'm going to do a wash. I treat this like watercolour. I'll do a wash. Now my dog's on the table outside the window staring at me. That's so cute. Alright, come down and around here. Like that. Yeah, so I treat ink exactly the same as I treat watercolour. Exactly. I work light to dark. I'd layer it. But I'll just be doing monotone. I won't be using any colours. Coats, they've got little brown stripe on their head, and I've got to be careful in what order I do this. Actually, I'm going to get my brush now. I'm going to quickly, carefully just mark in that eye. I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush, just any old watercolour brush. I want a fine tip though. Oh, this music's a bit strong, isn't it? Might turn that down a fraction. Oh, I'll just roll over here for a second. Turn that down a fraction. How do I turn it down? There we go. And carefully drag that out because the ink is drying super fast, and I'm just going to fill in that iris like that, leaving little highlights. The whiter the paper is the highlight on the eye. I can come back into that after and do a bit more. I'll let that dry. Come onto this eye. Like that. I'm going to draw around his little eye. He's got a little, like a little eyeliner, a little eyelid. Like that. You can only just barely see it on the other one. And that's going to be the highlight, like that. Then it's got a little shape. It's got white fur in the middle, darker fur on the outside. So I'll just mark that in. That's going to be different coloured fur. That comes up onto his ear like that. Then his little nose goes down here. They've got the cutest little noses too. Okay. And their little tiny mouth at the front. Alright. Now, I'm going to come around here. Got to be a bit careful here. I've got to draw this top flower. Before I do any more to his eye on this side, I've got to draw this flower in. Get some more ink on my paper. And this ink has lasted forever. I'm using, what am I using today? I've got my Sennelier ink. Just draw these other flowers coming around the outside, petals I mean. Feels so good to draw again, it's been a while. Alright. I'm not much of a flower drawer, but it is fun to challenge yourself from time to time. That. Alright. And then all the little ones in the middle that are curled in to the centre. Just draw them like little fronds, little petals that are all still closed. They haven't opened like a daisy yet. Keep the shape right, keep them going back into a ball because these start as like a ball. And they open out into this gorgeous flower. Continue on with these, coming around there. Oh, pardon me, excuse the burpees. So a few little petals wrapping around. These ones have opened. They open out into a beautiful... They're quite... Actually, they're not a soft flower either. The birds love these as well. The birds love the pollen. Alright. Okay. That'll do for that one. Now I can move on to the rest of his little face. Again, I'm not doing solid lines. I'm leaving it a little bit sort of fur-like. And I'm using, what's the paper called? Oops, get a little bit of ink just to add a touch of water. It's not watercolour paper. I'm using, it's actually marker paper. It's, what's it called? I've gone completely blank. Bristol paper. I had to have a look at my notepad over behind me there. I love Bristol because it's completely smooth and glossy. And I just think it's the nicest effect for little creatures that I like to draw. Just got to get a bit more ink, a little bit less water on there to darken it up. But you get the best quality you can, because it holds water a bit better than some of the cheaper ones. Alright, I'm not going to worry yet about filling in his fur colours. I'm going to get his outline down. So I'm going to start on this flower down here now. So this leaf comes around the side of his little face. I sort of just made up this picture. I've got, like, I'm using a reference for the animal, but I've made up the flowers and where they are and all that sort of thing, because I wanted it just to be more balanced. So I just did sort of one flower reference and ad-lib the rest and just sort of make the rest up. I think that's the only original flower, and the rest I'm sort of just doing them sort of reverse images of each other and trying to get them ish right. Trying. Doesn't matter if they're not exactly right. It's a drawing, not a photograph. So it's the beauty of art. Now, as you can see, what I've done in this one, I haven't drawn in the individual little wrapped uppy bits. So I'll draw them in now-ish. Come around here. Get that longer petal in. Might draw one longer one here. And then do lots of little ones that come wrap in to the middle because they haven't opened yet. Gotta try and keep my hand out of the wet ink because I always end up with my hands in the ink. These are a type of eucalypt. Which we have an abundance around here, that's for sure. Beautiful. Actually, today's a rainy day and the eucalypts smell so pretty. They smell like eucalyptus. On days like today when you've got hot and rainy. It really sets off the smell. And you can get mint eucalypts too. There's a place around here that's got mint eucalyptus, and oh my god, you go up there on the right time of day when the eucalyptus trees let off their smell. They like release all the oil. Oh my gosh, they smell amazing. It smells like mint. The air's just filled with mint. You can almost taste it. It's amazing. Right, so that's the other flower. Now his little paw is sort of holding it, so I'll draw his little fingies. Coming around here like that. How many can I see? 1, 2, I can see 5, I missed one. There's one up there. There we go. Draw his little furry bits. Okay. Draw the fur coming around his little arm. I can shape up his body a little bit more because I've got him a little bit narrow, so I'm going to make him a little bit wider. Alright. Now his little wing comes down here. I'm going to leave this the white of the paper. So any of the lightest parts are going to be the light of the paper. That sort of folds around there. And his fur colour, it's got lighter on the outside and darker up in here. So I'm going to give myself that boundary where I know to fill it in with ink wash. Like that. Then, how am I going to do this? I'm going to draw the branch coming down. I didn't actually complete this flower, so I'll just make it up now. Shall I? And so that's the bottom of the flower coming up under here. And then we'll do the branch coming down here, and we'll be able to see most of his belly, and his tail can come up and around there. Okay, that's alright. And I'm going to bring his wingy bit. See, I'm changing. I'm using the original drawing as a guide, and I'm changing it up a little bit as I go, which is the beauty of freehand drawing. That's why I like to freehand draw, because I can always change things as I'm drawing. I can adjust. If I don't like something, or I think, oh, he needs to be a bit bigger, a bit skinnier, a bit whatever, I can adjust. There his other little wingy bit joins onto this foot. And I'll draw his little claws. Like that. Wrapping around that. Now I'm going to put a stick there, so I'm going to change the shape of his feet a fraction. Like that. Draw his little leg, comes around here like that. Oops, my dip's pen's drying out fast. I'm going to give it a quick dip into the water over here. Alright, now again I'm going to go, I shouldn't have, I've got to go over here to the left because I've got to draw his tail wrapping around. You've got fluffy tails, long tails. Oops, itchy eyeball. So I'll draw his tail coming around here. Like that. And I can draw the stem of that plant sort of coming down there and into that foot where he's holding it with his little toes. And his tail will come around the back. Like that. And I might even adjust that a little bit. Make his tail come sort of a bit wider out. There we go. It's a bit better. Now I can bring this branch down. Like that. Make his tail sort of butt up to that. Bring that down there. So that's the branch again. Alright, now I can start to move down here and add in this bit of a branch. Just nice to connect everything together. I like to create like a sort of triangular, the laws of art or whatever it's called, there's a dimensions thing. I try to stick to it as best I can. proportions and stuff, so you can keep it looking pleasant. So this flower's sort of coming out the back here. I think I've decided. As of this second, it's coming out the back. And I'll just fill that in. Like that. I made that one look a bit fairy. I need harder lines on my leaves, on my petals. Like that. There we go. And then, again, wrapping into the middle, because these ones open out from like a ball. Like that. You can draw some from the inside like that, and then petals that are opening on the outside. Like that. Okay. This is going to hang on my wall, because I've always wanted to. I've drawn so many of these and I've sold them and I haven't kept them. I'm like, I want one for my wall. I come down here. So this one will get framed and hung on my wall. Alright, now I need something else down here. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. I'm just going to get another photo. I've got to get a photo of what are they called? Sugar glider. Sugar glider. Just any old reference. I just want to get a reference for... they're all flying in the references. Just to get a bit more of a different perspective sort of on tones and colours and things, and what sort of shape the tail, and yeah, they've got very bushy tails. So that's fine. And they've got darker at the tip up here. So I'll just mark that in. They're just so cute. They make me smile. And when you love drawing something, I love drawing mice and I love drawing sugar gliders. They're just too adorable. Alright, might make that back leg a little bit wider. I can do that. And the other leg will be up behind in there somewhere, we'll say. Alright, now I'm going to start with the washes. I'll go... so, I'm going to get my little watercolour brush, and I'm going to just dip back. I've got to get another palette because I need to be able to add water to my ink. So I've got my ink down there, and I'll just use the original ink, my pure ink, and I'll add a little bit of water to it, and that will help me create my washes. Alright, now I've got to be a bit careful here. I've got to start top left. Am I going to start with flowers? Decisions. Because I actually haven't got a reference for the flower. So I need to find something I can use. Ooh. So I can get the shadows and stuff. Well, I'm just going to fluke it. I'm just going to go... Whoops, need a bit more water. And I'm just going to fill in. The light would be hitting in there. Just fill in, because that ink's just about dry up there now. And it's exactly the same as watercolour. Work your lightest layers and then you build up light to dark. So I'm using it very diluted, very watered down. And then each layer I'll add a little bit less water and a little bit more ink. Trying to stay inside the lines. Okay. Down and around. You see that's super light because this is not watercolour paper, so I've got to be careful. I can't do too many layers. I could probably only do 3 max, and then this paper will start to disintegrate because it's really not, it's for ink, not ink, it's for marker. It's not really meant for what I'm doing with it. Now, these would be, I've got to pick a direction for the light. These would be darker underneath from the shadows. So I can add now that second layer, just dip back into my ink, a little bit less water, a little bit more ink, but not quite pure ink for the second. See how that's darker? It will always dry back a tone or two anyway, because it does. Same as watercolour, it never stays exactly the same as what you put on the paper. That would be darkest there. A little bit of tip of light on the top. I can always get a bit of water on my brush, drag that round like that, soften that edge, because I want the lightest to be in the middle at the top, darkest down the bottom in that corner there, like that. Alright. I'm just going to add a little bit of that to the bottom on the other side of these, because the tops would be catching more light, so I want the bottoms of them to be a little bit darker. It helps you give that three-dimensional effect. Now, a little bit more ink, a little bit less water, just into the darkest dark areas, just with the tip of my brush. Don't want it everywhere solidly because it'll make it look flat. Just pick a few little spots where it would be the darkest. Like that. And then I'm going to come down the bottom of this branch and just shadow the underside of it like that. Okay, that's the one flower. Now I'm going to work onto the left of this ear. So he's going to have dark around his eye. Oh, have I got that in the right spot? Hang on. Yes, I have. Dark around the eye. I just had a moment of, oh shit, look at the reference. Okay, and then come down and around here. And I can do a very diluted, incredibly diluted, just so it's not quite the white of the paper, but just tints the paper for the fur, the lighter fur on the ear. So it's all covered in ink, but the lighter areas are the lightest ink. I'll leave the very tip of his nose white of the paper, and these absolute highlights the whitest bit of the paper. So the middle is darker, so I'll go back to my, got to keep mixing this because the ink is drying so fast. Got to be a bit careful, that's a little bit dark. So I can actually just add a bit of water to the brush there to dilute that a fraction. And you've got to sort of work faster. You can't, once it's dry, it's dry. You'll end up with tide lines if you're not careful. So you've got to try and work fast, be confident with your ink, because otherwise it'll dry and leave a hard line, and you don't really want that. Okay, now again, just almost use just dirty water to make for the lighter parts of his fur. So there's enough ink in the water that I've used to clean the brush to create that. Now I've got to come around here, a bit darker, a bit more ink, a little bit less water for the darker areas. So it's just a couple of tones darker, leaving the highlight around the very edge of the iris, like that. Okay. And I could do this with pen strokes, but I think I love the effect of the brush marks. Okay, now I'm just having a quick look. I can draw a little bit darker here, a little bit darker there, go over the top. That's all dry now. I'll go back at the very end and add the darkest darks right at the very end. Now I'll come around his little face, again just with dirty water pretty much, so it's the lightest tone like that. So you can see I've got light, medium. I haven't done the darkest darks yet. So now his little tummy's white, so I'm going to use the dirty water. It's just literally just tinted water. There. And yeah, that's darker there. So I'm going to go darker. A little bit more ink, a little bit less water. Take that down onto his little arm and work my way around. I might do the flowers last, because by the time I get back to the start, when I finish his little body, they will all be dry. Just going to make this a fraction darker. And I'm just using a cheapy brush. This is just actually a brush I got in a gift box. You know, you order the surprise boxes and you don't know what you're going to get. I got this brush in one of those. So it's only a couple of dollars worth, but it does the job just nicely. Just a little watercolour brush. Oh, see how dark that is? That's silly. I need to get some more water on my brush quickly while that's still damp and drag that around. It's a little bit dark, a little bit strong, but that will dry off. A bit lighter. I'll take it all the way around the top of his little arm, like that. Then his little fingers are pink, but I'm going to do them literally with just dirty water, because then they'll dry back really quite light anyway, so it's not an issue. And again, come down. This is dirty watercolour, so this is just like the lightest part of his fur. I will leave just around the very edge of his little wingy bits the white of the paper, just for that little bit of contrast. Working quite fast, trying to not let the water dry with the line, or the ink dry with the line. Down onto his little leg. Whoops, that's a bit dark. Quickly add water to my brush. Drag it down and around like that. Actually, I think that could be a bit of a darker. I can actually make that a little bit darker there. So you would have a darker stripe like that. Goes the mid-tones though. That go even a fraction darker, just at the top, like I did on the other bit. So I've got some more pure ink in there, and just add that to the top, to the darker there, like that. All right. Having a quick look, and he would have a stripe down his back, but you can't see his back. Alright, now onto his tail. So again, his tail at the front part is lighter, so I'll go to my really watered down ink here, really diluted, literally there's just a splidge of ink in there, the teeniest amount, and carry that around, just like, yeah, dirty water almost. And the top of his tail is darker, right at the tip. He's a little bit darker. They are the cutest creatures, they really are. And I can draw some fur texture in at the end. Keep moving so I don't end up with hard lines. Like that. Okay. Then up here, a little bit darker. So a little bit more ink, a little bit less water. Just brush that in. And I don't mind being able to see, I actually don't mind being able to see the bits of the drawing underneath, because it shows the process. It shows it hasn't been traced, it's all freehand. I love seeing people's process, I love watching how people draw. And how they come up with a picture, so I try to show that in my process always. The whole process from bare paper to finished piece. Because it's fun and it's challenging. Now I've got to do under here dirty water pretty much, because you can see his belly fur is the same. Well, it's lighter, but I'll do it the same as his body fur for the second, because he's got his other little legs under there. So his body comes around the flower. Now here comes the tough bit. I've got to let that dry a fraction. I'm going to go back up the top and start working on this other flower up the top. Get some more paint on my palette, ink on my palette. It's not paint at all, it's just ink, acrylic ink. And I'm going to start with a watered down on the back petals, diluted ink and water on these back petals. Oops. Like that. You can see I had the initial one a little bit thick, a little bit dark, so I just added a bit more water for the first layer. Like that. Down and around. So the light would be hitting this side, so I'll do this side just diluted, really diluted, super diluted water. I'll just wash that all in, filling it in like that. Then I can add the shadows in. So now I'll go in a little bit less water, a little bit more ink. It's drying as fast as I put it on my palette. Alright, now get a bit more water than that. Darken up the darkest parts that I would see. So that would all be in shadow. And then underneath would be in shadow, under here. And against the ear, I'll have the ear to the fore a bit, so it'll be the lighter than the petal. So you've got to be a bit careful. Like that, when you are using, you want your lightest lights against your darkest dark, so that's a light against the dark of the ear. So that's, I can draw a little bit of a detail on the leaf just to help. I might go super dark just closest to the ear, help with the contrast there, and on the very underside of that flower like that. Because I'm sort of working from imagination here, because I haven't got a reference for the flowers at all. I'm just I had one flower reference that I sort of made up the rest. So I've got no lights, no darks, no anything. I've got to imagine the lights coming from here. So the darkest darks would be on the back sides of everything. So I'll just add that where I imagine the dark would be. Like that. And then, you know, don't overdo it. Okay, I'm going to leave that. Which I do need to darken up this one bit. This bit here. On this, just here. Carefully. Because that bit would be... There we go. I was looking at my big screen. That gives me enough contrast. It would be dark in there as well. So just trying to imagine where it would be dark. Like that. Okay, then coming down onto this branch. Coming all the way down, and I'll add the darkest dark while it's still a little bit damp in the very bottom of that branch, that twig. Like that. Okay, now possum's dry. I can go onto this flower. I can rest my hand on him now. Again, it's exactly the same process. Light to dark, go the wishy-washiest ink first. It's almost just dirty water. And drag that around the petals. Comes right up to his face. And I'll add the shadows at the end. Right into there. Oh, my camera's fallen down. Does that? Doesn't want to stay in its spot, does it? Doesn't matter. Oh, come on, camera. Silly duffer. Nope, my camera does not want to stay in its spot. There we go. It's a bit better, sort of, maybe. I've got to find a... Because I move it when I'm game streaming, I can't leave it stuck in the one spot. Hang on. Ugh. Bit better. Alright. Down and around. Just fill in with the watered down ink. I can actually go over where I've done previous washes because it's dry. Once it's down, once it's done, it's done. There's no, you can't lift it. Not like watercolour, you can sometimes you can move it around a little bit or lift it off the paper a little bit. Ink, you cannot. Once your ink is on the paper, it is on the paper forever. An interesting bit of trivia too, I went to an exhibition and there was a drawing that Leonardo da Vinci had, not Leonardo da Vinci, was it Leonardo da Vinci? Actually no, it wasn't, it was Picasso, had done on a piece of wood. It was an ink sketch on a piece of wood. And it was hundreds of years old and the ink was still visible. So I'm like, ink lasts forever. It's one of the reasons I like using ink too, because it is forever. It'll last hundreds of years. Now again, I'm just imagining where my darks would be. It'd be super dark underneath. Super dark underneath. I'm leaving his toes still a little bit lighter. So I'm cutting very carefully around his little toes, so you can see his little toes. And I also saw a Rembrandt ink, and it was absolutely glorious and still very visible after hundreds of years. It's one of the reasons I love using ink. And I struggle with colour. So I can see tones with black and white, my lights to darks, which is tonal values. So your lightest lights to your darkest darks, I can see every step. Add colour, I can't see it. I really struggle. So inks is better for me to see the lights and darks and the tonal values. It's another reason I do a lot of ink. It's because I find it easier to see the lights and darks. Even in my imagination, I can see it in black and white. I can't see it in colour. As bizarre as that sounds. I'll just add, be darker underneath. So I add a few more little super dark marks under there. I'll add a little bit darker on here. Underneath. There we go. And there's a leaf there that would be almost pure dark. But I'll just darken the underside of it. Because that's the bulb bit that sort of where the plant joins a stem. Like that. I'll leave a little bit of texture on it. And then drag that wishy-washy down, like wet paper, like dirty water I mean, down behind the tail on that stick. All the way down. And then add the darker ink, like a tone or two darker on the bottom of that. Anywhere that would be the darker bit, not the whole stick. I don't want to have one solid dark stick. I want darker on the bottom and lighter on the top. There we go. And now I can go to work on this last flower and then I can add detail, more detail. Okay, last flower. Dirty water to outside petals. Like that. I feel like I need something coming up the left hand side of him, symmetric wise, like balance wise, because he'd be quite heavy on that little branch. He sort of needs a branch behind him coming off this one to support him, I think. Just as I'm looking at that. So I might add, once I've done this flower and it's dry, let's fill in with wishy-washy water, like dirty water, just ink, tiniest little bit of ink dipped in there, just to discolour the paper almost, like that. Ooh, a bit much, like that, a bit much ink, but I can just, while that's still wet, move it a little bit. See how fast that dried? That dried almost instantly. My goodness, it's hot here. And I've got the air conditioner going. That dried almost instantly. Scary, scary. I've got my aircon on. Try and keep it a bit cooler because I've got to keep my computer cool. It's nuts weather. We've had the most extreme weather. It's been horrible. Down and around here. Pardon me, goodness gracious. Got all the airs. Down under the bottom. Anywhere that would be darker, I'll add slightly more ink, slightly less water, and build it up. Again, darkest darks on the bottom. Here. And for anyone who's interested in if you can hear my background music, it's Epidemic Sound. I pay a fee for copyright fee, so I can use whatever's on there, and a monthly, and I get access to beautiful music, and I love classical, so I listen to my classical music while I'm drawing and painting. It's just so chill and relaxing. Alright. I can go super dark just in the very bases here, like that, and then on this side I would add little strikes of the turned in bronze, like that. Alright, then wet water, just water and the tiniest little bit of ink. And I'll drag that down the page. And then add the darkest bit to the very bottom. Whoops. I do need to do something on this side. What am I going to do? I could actually draw like a branch, a big branch. I need to see one of these trees though. I need something on this side. There's something missing. He doesn't look balanced. I'm going to get my pencil and we're going to try and I can draw a branch. Just to ground him a bit more. Make him not look quite so floaty. And like a branch would come up here and maybe a broken off branch like that. Like that. And then have the grain of the wood. Like that. And I can just draw that in. What do we think of that? Yeah, I think so. I think he needed that to be. And I'll just do a broken up edges of the wood up here. And I'll just draw that in. Now with my dip pen. Because yeah, he needs... Oh, I just took the nib off my pen by accident. I'm trying to clean it. So, just stick that back. I can't even see where that goes back in. There we go. Alright. So you can see this is where it's good to always know how to draw freehand, because you can change things and you can ad-lib and add things where you need them. I have the branch coming up past there, coming up past here, and I'll make it a bit more sort of bedraggedy because wood doesn't ever break off flat and square like that. That branch would have been knocked off in a storm, let's say. Come down here, and these are just little sort of stems that come off the other branches that you can't see. Like that. There we go. Alright. Draw the texture. And I'm going back into pure ink, not diluted, just pure ink. And I'm adding the texture of the bark. So that'll define that more from my little sugar glider. And I'm just randomly just drawing lines. I won't draw them solid like I had up the top. I'll just add little dots and dashes to help. I think I need another one. And the more I see, the more I'm like, oh gosh, I need to add another one just sort of up to the left a little bit. And maybe add a little branch with a bud off it, just to give it a bit more context. We might do that, but I'll finish this one first. I can do that, and then I can have like a little one coming off here, like so it joins in, like that, and have a bud. I'll just freehand this one. Rest my finger on there. Like that. Give him a bud petal coming down here. More of a firm line there. More of a firm line there. Okay. And then petals coming in and around, all the little ones in the middle, like that. And then deeper ones coming down here, So it looks a bit more solid, a bit more rounded, like that. There we go. That gives him a bit more, it grounds him a bit more, which is what I wanted to do. So it looks like these branches are coming off other little bits. That's better. And again, down under here, I'll make them a bit softer, a bit less defined. Just a bit dotty dashy, like that. Come up here. And just random patterns going right to the edge of the branch, like that. And I love drawing scales and feathers and anything that's got detail like this. I just find it so mesmerising, drawing the little lines. How long have I been at it? How long have I been drawing? Only an hour. This has taken me an hour so far. Not bad. Alright, come down and around. Continue on. And you don't want detail all over the whole thing, because it will become overwhelming, and your eyes got to look sort of you want your eye to be drawn around the picture. But I'm adding detail on the branch because it's a solid thing, and it would just look like a big blob if I didn't add detail to it. And I will add, because I want the sugar glider to be the focus, so we'll add more fur detail to him. But for the second, I'm going to go back to, I've got to clean my palette because my ink's all dried. Got to give it a wipe, get rid of the old ink, because otherwise I'll get crusty bits, and I don't want crusty bits. Get rid of that. Grab a fresh bit of cloth. Where's my cloth? There's my cloth. Fresh bit of cloth. And now, I apologise for my camera angle. It's fallen again. Why is my camera falling? My camera's lost control. Hang on. Yeah, got it. That's better. No, it fell again. Oh my god, my camera. Hang on. Yeah. Come here, camera. Work. Sit there. Sit. Stay. Is that better? That's better-ish. Goodness gracious, my camera keeps getting the walkies. Alright, so now, again, I'm going to start light, just get a little bit of ink and dilute it right down with water. And again, anywhere, oops, that's a bit too strong. Pick it up with my brush, add a bit of water, and I'm just going to fill in with the lightest tone of ink. So this is all just the one colour ink, just adding more water, less water to create different sort of darknesses, for want of a better word. Different tones. Okay, come down and around. Now, add a bit more water, a bit more ink, a bit less water, and on the bottoms, oops, darkest areas, add stronger tones. I'll add a leaf there because I didn't draw it in, but I will because it looked a bit weird. And now it would be dark under here. I'm imagining where it would be dark, so the light would be hitting the outside, like that. And then a bit more ink into the darkest areas. A bit less water. It would be super dark down the bottom side. The light would be hitting from up here, so the back sides, you see how the light's hitting there, hitting there, hitting there, hitting here. So the darkest parts would be at the back here. So anywhere that would be shadowed, I just add a little bit more ink. Okay. And maybe on the underside of these, because the tops of them are behind. Like that. Okay, so that's that. Now, branch, same. I'm just going to use dirty water, like literally a bit of ink, tiny bit of ink and a lot of water. And wet that whole branch. Keeping the brush moving across the paper. And I'm only using, what size is it? It's only teeny, it's only size 2. I'm not using a big brush. I don't like using big brushes. I've never been a big brush kind of gal. I pretty much use 3 brushes for a whole painting, but I don't work on a large scale either. I work on a small scale. This is only A4 size, like the size of a standard piece of printer paper. I don't generally work much more than an A4, because also it's economical to frame. If I can afford to get the frames for these, if I have to get odd sizes, I have to go to a framer. I can't just get a ready-made frame. So I generally do my pictures so they fit in a ready-made frame, because I can't afford to go to framers. So there's a tip. I don't do anything much above an A4, because you can't just buy the frames. Or if I've got an old frame that I have previously had something done, I will make a picture to fit it. Just for economy, money-wise. Okay, now darker darks on the background. So I'm going to add the shadow to behind and underneath so I'm going to go more ink, less water. Not too much more though. Whoops, a daisy. I went over the plant a bit. So he'd be all dark up in here, because that's behind him. Well, see, there wouldn't be any sunlight because he's a nocturnal animal. I'm a nong. But if it was torchlight in a photograph, because he's nocturnal, you wouldn't see him in daylight. You only see him at night time. There you go. Fun fact: you wouldn't see him in the daylight. You see him at night time under lights. Even when they keep him at the zoo, they keep him in a darkened sort of area. Alright, I'm happier with that, that's alright. I'll add darker into here, just in behind him, where the contrast would be. And I'll blur out those edges a fraction. Like that. Add a bit more in there, because that would be darker. And then continue that shadow sort of coming up here. Right, I'm just having a look on the big screen. That looks alright. I'm happy-ish with that. Now, more detail on Mr. Possum. Now carefully, I'm going to go back in to his eyes, and I'm just going to do dots. So I want to really darken up his irises. His pupils and his irises. Oh my god, that was close. I dropped a big blob of water on there and it didn't stain. Wow, got it up instantly. Got to be so careful, because I had my pen, I had a bit too much water in my pen, and it held in the nib and dropped like a blob. Oh, that's scary. Now I'm going to go back to my brush. Oh, God, I did it again. Too much water. Oh, so I've always got a bit of cloth in my hand to pick up any such mishaps. So I'm going to build up his darkest darks, which is his irises, his pupils. And I've always got a piece of cloth in my hand. Always. Leave a little highlight on his eyes, because I don't want them solid black. I want you to be able to see little highlights. I can brush fur marks onto his little tail, using the very tip of my brush. And you can get super fine detail brushes, which I probably should get. I don't have one handy. Oh yeah, I do. Hang on. Yeah, I do. Have one handy. on my Silver Black Velvet's one of my good watercolour brushes actually. But it's got a beautiful fine tip. But as long as you clean your brushes out immediately, they don't get damaged. I use all my brushes for everything because I'm hopeless. So now I'm just going to add fur detail to Mr. Possum. It's not Mr. Possum, he's sort of a possum, he's a sugar glider, which is a type of possum here in Australia. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to go back to my references and have a quick look. Refresh my memory. So I need to draw fur here and there. And these little marks will show. Oh, I didn't do that claw. Just got to add a little bit of tint to those claws on his little foot there. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go back to my dip pen. That eye is not reflecting the light very well on that camera. I apologise, because both of those eyes are very dark, but the light's reflecting off it and making it shine, I think. So I apologise for that, but now it's for the little furry details, the fun bits that I love to do. Add fur to the darkest darks. I just washed them, put the ink wash on them. Again, clean the nib on my brush, on my pen I mean. I should be working top left to bottom right. So I'll do that. I add a bit more fur texture around. And always remembering the direction the fur's going. So his fur would be coming down his face, so it would be pointing to his nose. And on the side of his head, his fur would be going a slightly different direction. So you always got to remember. See if I can get that to look a bit better. I don't know why that's... Hang on. Yeah, no, it doesn't look darker, does it? It is. I can guarantee it is. His left eye is very dark, but in this light, it's not showing up. It looks glary, but that's this glossy paper too, I suppose. So I'm just adding, that branch is dry now so I can rest my hand there. Adding the fur texture. So he becomes the focus. My goodness, little blobs. Alright, continuing on. And I've got pure ink with the teeniest little bit of water. Might move that little palette that I've got there and just bring my pure ink palette back. So anywhere that's the darkest dark, I'm going to add fur texture. His fur would go, his ears tilted to the right, so his fur would go to the right. Like that. So again, very important to follow the direction of the fur. And I will be framing this little guy. I bought some frames the other day from the dollar shop. These are one of my favourite animals ever. These baby deer bunnies. I'm trying to think. Mice. I just love little animals. He's sort of looking at this, so his fur will go around. Like that. His eyes. There we go. Oops. Doesn't want to hold ink. Now I'm having a quick look. He would have a little bit darker under here, so I'll draw a little bit of fur texture under his little chin, coming down into the shadow areas, like that. I'll really darken up his nostrils, pure ink, like that. Then onto his little shoulder. Add texture. I literally get about 5 years out of a tub of ink, a bottle of ink. I don't even actually remember when I bought this ink. I think I bought this ink, what, it'll be 4 or 5 years ago. It's still going strong. You use so little. It's very economical. Hello, Slab. How are you, doll? How are you? So yeah, you get tons of time, tons and tons of use out of ink. Lasts forever as long as you keep it sealed well. The only wastage is what you got on your palette. I love your sloth. He's cute. Alright, so I'm just adding all the fur detail. And his fur would be wrapped sort of around and in that direction. I've got to sort of have that going more towards his foot, coming up, because his little arms bent upwards, so the fur would be going upwards. There we go. So how was your weekend? What day is it? Oh, today's not your weekend yet, is it? It's only just coming into the weekend here now. It's Saturday. I've lost track of days since I've been at home. I have lost track of days, which is not a bad thing. I'm also going to add a little bit of fur texture around the bottom of his wingy bits, just to help define them a little bit around his ear. Oh gosh, see, that dries so fast, so fast. Yep, I'll give a bit of darker fur just around. My goodness, that is drying as quick as I put it on the dip pen. It is hot. It is a hot day. Well, it's not. It's wet, but it's humid. That's the word. It's humid. Very humid. I've got the air conditioner on full bore. Flat out. Flat out like a lizard drinking. Alright, come up here. Just adding furry texture. Like that. Alright, then I will continue round with fur texture going the direction of his tail, just to help to guide where that is. Like that. You can barely see it, but it's fine, it does the job. And I've just got to find my kneadable eraser somehow. I tidied up and it's gone. You can see that's very, very pale. You'll only see sort of that'll dry back, and you'll barely even see it existing on the paper. Those little fur marks. Trying not to keep them in too much pattern, because fur isn't in a pattern usually. It's just asymmetric. It's all over the place. Now on this side, there's what have I done there? Oh, that would be fur. That's all right. Just had to think then what part of his body that was. Continuing on. Here we go. Bit more water, bit more ink. The fur on the back of the tail there would be darker. Coming down and around. I might even, I've got a bit more fur texture down onto his tail here. Around the back of his little leg. Like that. I've got to add, I'm just having a look and trying to figure out. I'm going to add a wash. I'm not going to use the brush, the pen here. I'm just going to use a wash to darken in here. Because this is under the branch, but it's not really a part of his body that needs detail, but it needs to be darker. I need to push it into the background a bit more. The darker things are, the further it'll push it into the background. See how I added water and I dropped the ink in and it flows where the ink, it'll only go where the water is, won't go anywhere else, but it creates that dark shadow in that spot. And I'll just drag out the edges to the branch because that's a shadow. I don't need to focus in there, but I need it to be just disappear. So the shadow pushes it back. There we go. So that makes it just dark and shadowed. Perfect. Right, back to the pen. Okay, I can add little bits of fur. Rest my finger on the paper. So this is sort of just the final details. Let's take the fur lines around. He's got fur in his ears. I can actually use a little bit of pointillism. Just use a little bit of dots around under here because it's fine fur under there. Just be patient and add the teeny little dots of his fur on his belly because that's his underbelly. Excuse me. And just keep them random. Don't have them in any particular spot. Try to keep them the same. They'll dry back pale, but try to keep them the same sort of consistency of ink. When it dries, it'll dry super pale. There we go, that's helping. It's coming together. It's been so long since I've drawn. Like properly drawn a proper picture that I'd want to keep. I was thinking this morning, what do I want to hang on my wall? And I've done lots of sugar gliders for other people and I haven't done one for myself. So there you go. You know what would be quite nice? This would be a light purpley sort of hazed background. I don't know. Should I? No. I'll keep it black and white. And I'll draw just a bit more fur around his body, just to give him a bit more direction and texture. Got to draw the fur on the darkest parts of his legs here. Goes super dark here. Around his legs. Hello? I'm streaming, Bug.
Yes, I was going to ask if you wanted a coffee or tea.
I've got one here, Del, but thank you.
I thought to check.
Thank you. That's my wonderful, thoughtful daughter offering me a cup of coffee. Alright, that's the fur around the leg there. Then come around here and I'll add the fur underneath, darkest darks, right next to that line on his wingy bit. So when he opens his legs out, spreads his little legs out, he flies. He can catch the wind and fly between trees. Keeps him out of danger. They're such amazing little creatures. Alright, now I'm having a quick look. I need to add a bit more fur texture onto his tail. Around underneath his tail. I might even have to add a little bit more shadow. So I am going to grab my brush again, and I'm going to do another little wash of shadow underneath. I've just got to be careful it's not too dark. Come around underneath here, because you'll see the pen lines that I've already done underneath. You will still see those. Just on the bottom of his tail. And now I'm going to use dirty water almost and drag that out, because that would be darker on this side. Right. A bit better. Gives him a little bit more three-dimensional. It's all about your lights and darks. To make something look three-dimensional, it is purely lights and darks. I'm going to go pure dark here. Just the highest contrasty bit on the bottom of the back. That, having a quick look. Okay, I'm having a look at my big screen because it gives me a better perspective, even though there's a bit of glare on it. Alright, and I might even add a few more shadows, a few more layers of... His body's looking a bit flat. So I'll add another little bit of tone, like a mid-tone here. Like that. So he's not all just one flat colour. Like that, let that flow around in that water. It'll keep it soft. Like that. Darken up this little leg here. Add a little bit of shadow under his neck. Like that. Just getting the shadows in the right spots now. The final little shadowy bits. I think that was the hardest thing I've learnt with art, is learning where to see shadows, and so things didn't look flat anymore. It's the most fun part, but it's probably the hardest part to learn, I would say, for me, in my art journey. It's going to go super dark down here. In this dark bit again. I want to draw away like that. Super dark on the bottom of the branch. Closest to the glider. There we go. Just adding finishing touches now. I reckon I need to draw little fur lines in here, but I'll use the very tip of my brush to add those in on these little chest. And then maybe a few fur lines on his little head with using the very tip of my brush, the very finest tip, just to show fur texture. You know what I didn't do? I didn't do his whiskers. I haven't done his whiskers. I'm a duffer. I'm going to draw his whiskers, and then I reckon I'm going to call him done. So I'm going to draw his whiskers. Like that. And I am going to sign that. And then I'm going to find my kneadable eraser and get rid of those pencil lines. And it's 2024. So 24. There we go. There we have it. One completed little sketch of a sugar glider. Hello, Moon! I have had a lovely stream. I'm just about done. So I'm going to have a quick sticky and see who I can find who's online that we can raid. It's been a quiet old morning, but I'm guessing it's like you're still all recovering from Thanksgiving. So it's been a quiet old morning, but it's been fun because I haven't drawn in so long that I was just missing it. I've been making lots of little sculptures and lots of everything else, but I hadn't been drawing or anything. So let's have a look. Who've we got? We are going to hang out with Mindsai. He's one of my mates who I stream with, and I haven't caught up with him in forevs. So we're going to go and hang out with Mindsai. So I'd love it if you would come with me. Pop a follow. / he does digital art. / rate. Mindsai 13. And I will see you over there. Have a great day. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And I will see you when we get there. Just got to wait for it to pop up on my thing. And then we go. And I press that.